Why do we continue to be so captivated by Ted Bundy? The man's charming public persona seems at odds with his horrific crimes, yet that very contradiction is what makes him so compelling. This video will explore the truly bizarre and disturbing details that lurked beneath that facade, revealing a hidden life of psychopathy and manipulation. We'll move beyond his well-known crimes to a more terrifying truth, exploring the unsettling aspects of his life that are rarely discussed in mainstream media. One of the most bizarre and foundational deceptions of Ted Bundy's life was the fact that he was raised to believe his biological mother was his older sister and that his grandparents were his parents. This lie, which was intended to shield him from the stigma of being born out of wedlock, was a fundamental betrayal that he reportedly discovered as a teenager. This revelation caused deep psychological trauma and a lifelong resentment toward his mother for keeping the secret. While Bundy was often portrayed as a normal, charming student, his childhood was littered with unsettling red flags that point to a disturbing inner life. These early signs of psychopathy were more than simple youthful indiscretions. Reports indicate that at just 3 years old, he was found arranging knives around his aunt while she was sleeping, a chilling prelude to his later behavior. As he grew, his cruelty extended to animals. He was known to torment small creatures like pulling apart mice and setting a neighborhood cat on fire, behaviors which are often considered a significant precursor to later violence. During his teenage years, Bundy developed a truly macabre and disturbing habit that went far beyond typical adolescent pranks. He would dig holes in the woods near his home, place sharp stakes at the bottom, and meticulously cover them with vegetation. These so-called tiger traps were designed with the hope that other children would fall in. This behavior, which reportedly injured at least one girl, demonstrates an early and chilling desire to exert power and control over others, and an indifference to their suffering, traits that would define his future crimes. To the outside world, Bundy appeared to be a respectable young man. Despite having a chaotic and unfocused undergraduate career early on, he eventually became a serious student and earned the respect of his professors. He studied psychology at the University of Washington, where he graduated with distinction. This academic pursuit was a bizarre foreshadowing of his later crimes, as it likely gave him a deeper understanding of human behavior and manipulation. His knowledge of psychology may have informed his ability to read people, identify vulnerabilities, and craft his deceptive persona. He later attended law school, which, though he never completed, gave him a tactical advantage during his trials, allowing him to represent himself. Alongside his academic pursuits, Bundy built a promising career in politics, which further masked his sinister nature. He was an active and respected member of the Republican Party in Washington state, even receiving a letter of recommendation from the governor after working on his re-election campaign. This involvement in politics, a field built on public trust and charisma, provided the perfect cover for his double life. It allowed him to mingle with influential people and project an image of a clean-cut, ambitious young man, making it all the more difficult for law enforcement and the public to believe he was a serial killer. Bundy's approach to luring his victims was often as clever as it was manipulative. He would frequently feign injury, wearing a fake cast or sling to appear vulnerable and harmless. This cunning ruse was designed to appeal to the victim's sense of charity and empathy. By asking for help with a simple task, like loading a book into his car, he could drop their guard and create a situation where they were isolated and easy to overpower, demonstrating his calculated and predatory nature. Perhaps the most horrifying and grotesque aspect of Bundy's crimes was his post-mortem behavior. After killing his victims, he would frequently revisit their bodies in secluded disposal sites, sometimes days or even weeks later. He enjoyed watching the bodies decompose. Bundy confessed to engaging in necrophilia, often grooming the corpses, even shampooing their hair and painting their fingernails. He would sometimes keep their severed heads until he decided to get rid of them. This wasn't a sudden, impulsive act, but a deeply ingrained element of his fantasies.
The FBI's own study on serial homicide shows that the most common interest among serial killers is pornography.
That's true.
And it's real. It's true.
His motive, as he chillingly confessed, was not merely sexual gratification, but an overwhelming desire to possess the victim completely, even after death. Bundy's need for control and possession extended to keeping tangible mementos of his victims. He would take personal items from them, such as jewelry, like earrings and necklaces, as well as clothing. These items served as trophies that allowed him to relive his crimes and maintain a sense of power and dominance long after the murders were committed. This practice is a classic trait of many serial killers and underscores the psychological motivation behind his actions. Bundy's initial arrest in Utah was a bizarre stroke of luck for law enforcement. A highway patrol officer pulled him over for a routine traffic violation in the early hours of the morning. When the officer noticed Bundy's erratic behavior and attempted to flee, he became suspicious. A subsequent search of his vehicle, a Volkswagen Beetle with the passenger seat removed, revealed a strange collection of items, including ropes, a belt, an ice pick, and a ski mask. While Bundy was initially arrested on a burglary charge, the evidence found in his car and the testimony of an escaped victim, Carol Duranch, would ultimately connect him to his more heinous crimes. One of the most unbelievable aspects of Bundy's criminal career was his ability to escape from custody not once, but twice. His first escape was from a Colorado courthouse where he was left alone in a law library, an oversight that allowed him to jump from a second-story window and disappear into the woods. He was recaptured a few days later, but the second escape was even more audacious. After being transferred to a different jail, he deliberately lost a significant amount of weight in the months leading up to the escape, so he could squeeze through a hole that he created in the ceiling of his cell. After his second escape from a Colorado jail, Bundy's killing spree reached a new level of brazenness and brutality. On the night of January 15, 1978, he broke into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University in Tallahassee. With a piece of wood, he savagely bludgeoned 4 young women as they slept. 2 of the victims, Lisa Levy and Margaret Bowman, died from their injuries, while the other 2, Kathy Kleiner and Karen Chandler, miraculously survived. This attack was a departure from his usual method of luring victims, instead showing a burst of impulsive, unrestrained rage, and the shocking violence of the crimes became a focal point of his eventual trial. Following his recapture, Ted Bundy faced a series of high-profile trials in Florida. The trial for the Chi Omega murders became a media circus, with Bundy acting as his own attorney, a move that showcased his erratic behavior and frequent outbursts in court.
And if there's any more delay in this court's proceeding occasioned by your voluntary acts, we're proceeding without you.
Since I have been in Dade County, I've been allowed to...
Don't shake your finger at me, young man. Don't shake your finger at me, young man.
The prosecution presented crucial evidence, including eyewitness testimony and a forensic analysis of a bite mark found on one of the victims, which was matched to Bundy's teeth. The jury found him guilty of the murders and assaults, and he was sentenced to death in 1979. A year later, he faced a second trial for the murder of Kimberly Leach, a 12-year-old girl, for which he was also convicted and received a third death sentence. In a surreal twist of events, Bundy used his own murder trial as a stage for his personal life. He proposed to his on-again, off-again girlfriend, Carol Ann Boone, while she was testifying as a character witness for him. Taking advantage of an obscure Florida law, they were declared legally married right there in the courtroom. This bizarre public display was a testament to his manipulative charm and ability to control the narrative. As the public watched the trial unfold, Bundy's mother, Louise Bundy, was a constant presence, often a source of bizarre and heartbreaking denial. Despite the overwhelming evidence and his own confessions, she consistently maintained that her son was innocent and a good boy. She testified on his behalf, painting a picture of a kind and loving son, and insisted that he was a victim of a conspiracy. This unwavering support, even in the face of his heinous crimes, highlighted the depth of her denial and the tragic reality of being the mother of a serial killer. In a final disturbing act of ego and manipulation, Bundy offered to assist law enforcement in their search for the Green River Killer, Gary Ridgway, while he was on death row. He claimed he could provide unique insight into the mind of a serial killer, and in a series of chilling interviews, he did just that. Although his motives were likely self-serving, his profile of the killer was eerily accurate, suggesting that Ridgway, like Bundy, was a disorganized killer who revisited his victims' bodies. The bizarre collaboration offered a final, unsettling look into the mind of a man who was both a monster and a cunning psychological strategist. After his convictions, Bundy spent nearly a decade on death row, exhausting every legal appeal. Just days before his scheduled execution, he began giving a series of interviews in which he confessed to more than 30 murders across several states, hoping to trade information for a stay of execution. His final request for a stay was denied, and on January 24, 1989, he was executed in the electric chair at Florida State Prison. Outside the prison, a large crowd had gathered, celebrating his death with cheers and fireworks, a grim and fitting end to a case that had captivated the nation. From the bizarre secret of his early identity to the shocking cruelty of his necrophilia, we've explored the hidden facets of a man who masterfully crafted a facade of normalcy. The audacious escapes and the surreal courtroom antics weren't just footnotes to his crimes, but integral parts of his psychological profile, showcasing a chilling mix of cunning, ego, and an utter lack of remorse that defied easy explanation. The lasting impact of Ted Bundy's crimes extends far beyond his execution. His case fundamentally changed how the public and law enforcement view serial killers, proving that evil doesn't always conform to a preconceived profile. Perhaps the most haunting part of his legacy, however, is the list of victims who have never been found. This unresolved chapter of his story serves as a grim reminder of the full scope of his violence and the permanent wounds he inflicted.